one of the sayings that, like, gives me peace in that is, while salvation happens in a moment, sanctification happens over a lifetime. So we just
Mhm.
continue to get fine-tuned. And, sometimes there is a little backslide, or sometimes, yeah, we regress and then we remember, like, "Oh, yeah, that was terrible before, it's still terrible now, and what God has is better." And I even
Mhm.
had a friend call me and tell me last night, that she's been, like, feeling lonely, and she ended up in a club again, and she's like, "And I just hated it." She's like, "I the whole time I was like, 'Why am I even here?'" And I'm like, yeah, I was, like, telling her, I was reflecting on the same thing. I'm like, I went through that, like, right after I was saved, where I ended up doing those things again, and it was still as empty as it was when I left it, and I just had to remember that for myself. And then I met my husband, who's, like, stone cold, like, he's never touched anything a day in his life, so he's like, "Uh-uh." So he's like the backslide police now, like, he
That's awesome though.
yeah, yeah, there's no backsliding happening in this house. And I have those cravings too with, like, wine sometimes, and his family drinks, and sometimes I end up in that debate with myself of, like, on celebrations, or, camaraderie with the family, but I guess I don't have 100% closure, because every time I do drink, because 'cause I'll have wine sometimes, and it still just feels like, I don't know, like, I would've been better without it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Even that last beer that I did have, it was, and this is something my husband was working on with me whenever we first started dating, because I would say things like, "Oh, I really need this drink," or "I had a really hard day, so I deserve this drink," or something like that. And in that moment, I was irritated with my family for some reason on Christmas Eve. And so that was my thought process of like, I need a beer. You know what I mean? Because my
Yeah.
family's irritating me right now.
Yeah.
And that was another pause of like, I don't need this alcohol to get through this situation. Like, and it was such great timing then because the pandemic happened a few months after. And if I had still been drinking, then I would have just drank the entire time that we were in quarantine. And it was just saying, I mean, it's God's timing. I could not believe it. I was like, thank you, Lord, that I am freed of this and I'm not sitting here wallowing in our apartment.
Yeah, that's so good. It makes me think too, like, I have that same discussion with myself, like, when I have that craving, like, you feel when you have that urge, and then it's like, sitting on that, like, don't act on it, but, like, why am I feeling this? What is
Mhm.
it that I'm really seeking that I wanna fill this with alcohol with? So like you said, like, "Oh, I'm, like, stressed out from my family." It's not like you really need a drink, but it's seeking to fill that space. And so I notice a lot of times it's like I really just need my husband to, like, take a long walk with me and, like, talk to me, or, like, hear me cry, or something like this, that I'm, like, trying to numb with alcohol instead. So if you just, like,
Mhm.
push past that.